Hey everyone, Kelly Dean Allen here again. Today we're going to have a look at how to play Night Prowler by ACdc from the band's 1979 album Highway to Hell. Now, back during the Bon Scott-led era of ACdc, you could almost always count on at least one deep-cut, slow-burn, more laid-back blues-based track on nearly every album, at least up until Bon's final album with the band Highway to Hell. Then going forward with Brian Johnson, these types of tracks all kind of disappeared for the most part. I personally love these tracks, and when one of my subscribers mentioned that there were no good tutorials out there for Night Prowler, I knew that I had to sit down, learn it, and do one. So here we are. That said, let's close in and get started, yeah? Alright then, Night Prowler by ACdc. We are tuned down 1/2 step for this tutorial, so here's your tuning. And the intro and the chorus to this one uses basically 3 chords. An A power chord, a D, but not really touching upon the high E string here, and a C sus2, which is the 3rd fret of the A string, open D, open G, and the 3rd fret of the B. Right there, that chord. Right? So we're going to go from A to D into that C sus2. And then back to D, right? And you're going to repeat that. When we repeat it and go into the C sus2 the second time, we're going to hit it twice before going back to D. So this is the first time. This is the second time. Bum, bum, bum. And then you're going to let that ring for like an 8 count. Now, Malcolm is going to play the chorus underneath the first solo. So what I'm showing you here is the rhythm part under the solo is also going to be the chorus. And that's going to repeat 4 times. So we're basically playing the same thing, A to D to that C sus2, right? But we're going to kickstart it with this before dropping into A. Open E onto the 3, open A onto the 3, drop into that A power chord. D. Now when we go into the C sus2, for the rhythm part here and also for the chorus, we're going to ride down the strings, arpeggiate the notes out of it, right? Before dropping back to D, and then that again, right? Right, and that is the rhythm under the intro solo. So now let's have a look at that intro solo. All right, this intro solo here. That's pretty much the intro solo there. So we're starting on the 8th fret of the B, full step bend. Just gonna raise that, let it ring, give it some vibrato. Now you're gonna pick it twice at the top and release it off to 5. Right back into a really slow bend of that 8, up a full step, right? You're going to pick that again, release it off to 5, and then you're going to grab the 7 of the G, give that a full step, and then you're going to drop your right hand onto the 12th fret of the G string, right? You're going to release that off to 7, and then release the bend off to 5. Kind of like that, right? And then you're going to drop right back onto that 12 and raise your left hand a full step, which is raising the pitch of that note that you're holding with your right hand, right? Release, reapply, release again, and then release off to 5 again, and then we're going to kind of double time it. And then you're going to drop onto the 13 of the B, raise that a full step by dropping onto the 8 of the B, release that off to the 8, and then pull that 8 off to 5. So, from the beginning. Give that some nice vibrato. Slow bend, up a full step. Pick it once, release it off to 5. 7, drop onto the 12, release, reapply, release, twice in a row. 13, raise it from the 8, and then release that 8 off to 5. And that's the intro solo. And then we drop into the first verse. Now the first verse, different chords, starting with A. We're going to go up to this A6 sus, I think it's called. It's like holding a major chord here, but on the 5 of the low E, 5 of the A, and the 4 of the D. Right? A6 into a G power chord, and then back to the A6 again, right? And you repeat this, I think, 10 times. Twice without the vocals. And then the vocals come in. It's played nice and light, right? And after you repeat that 4 times with the vocals, we're going to keep playing it, but we're going to add this. And we're going to change it a little. We're going to hit that A power chord twice. We're going to hit it, choke it off, and then hit it again, right? And drop into that A6, G, back to the A6. Whoops. And then we're into the chorus. Now we're going to do this again, right? But a little more aggressively, because now it's the chorus. We really want, we're not playing so lightly as we were here, right? Right? A, D, C sus 2, D. And you repeat 4 times, right? And then the final time, bum, 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 right? You're not going to arpeggiate the notes. Bum, 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 dee, dee, dee. And then we're into the next solo. It's not really the main solo, it's the second solo. And it goes like this. So, 7th fret, full step bend, G string. Now you're going to release that, you're going to drop that down a half step, and you're going to do these little half step bends, right? 2 of them actually. And then a little half step pre-bend back to that 7. Off to the 5, and then the 7 of the D. Down to the 8, full step bend to the B. Right, release it back to the natural note, re-bend it again. Off to the 5 of the G. And then you're going to do that. So 5, and then we're grabbing the major 3rd here. Going to go 7 off to 6, little pause, and then you're going to double time it, right? 4 times, I think. Right back into another bend. Down to the 5 of the high E, roll up to the 5 of the B, double hit. Grab that 7, pick it once, and then right into a full step bend. Down to the 8 of the high E, 3 bends, and that's that solo. So, you can slide out of that. Right, and then we're into the next verse. Now the next verse, we're playing the same chords, the A to that A6, off to G, back to the A6, but the rhythm has changed. It's more strumming, right? Or not really strumming, but you hit it and then you grab the open A, palm muted, hit the A power chord again, then drop into that A6. And you're adding that every single time, right? Bum, 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 bum. And then we're into the next chorus. D. Same as all the other choruses, right? D, up to C sus2, arpeggiate the notes, D. Right? And that just repeats 4 times. And then we're into the main longer solo. Now this solo is not as tightly structured as the first 2. This is a pretty loose solo, so it's going to be difficult to kind of teach this. But I'm going to say this is like 95% accurate. So I'm going to try and play through it without any kind of backing track or any kind of rhythm playing in my head. It's going to be difficult to keep it in time, but this is kind of how it goes. That's kind of it, right? That's a lot of the techniques that we're going to be using. So, 7th fret again, full step bend. And then we're going to do that, right? Kind of little half step bends, release, half step bend, release, right? And it's a particular technique. You really have to kind of choke each of these off with your right hand. Very staccato, right? I don't know how many times you do it, maybe 7, right? Down to the 5s, right? Drop onto that 8, full step bend. Down to the 8 of the high E, full step bend. And then we're going to do a little scale run up the pentatonic. Finishing on the 5 of the G. Just on the, the 5s and 8s. Finishing on the 5 of the G. Just a wild little scale run up the pentatonic, right? And then back onto that 7, full step bend. And then we're going to do a whole bunch of these little half step bends. little pause, do a few more, little pause, do a few more, right? And then you're going to do a big pick straight down the neck, drop into a full step bend on the 8, and then another scale run up the pentatonic, finishing this time on the 5 of the D. Something like that, right? Starting on the 5 of the high E. And the scale run like that, just very loose, very quick, you know? But finishing there. And then we're going to take that note, do this crazy vibrato, big bends, full step bends, you know, waggle that as crazy as you can, right? Like 4 times, right? And then we're going to drop into a double stop on the 5s, and then drop onto a double stop on the 7. So up to that point. Pick straight. Finish on that note there, the 5th fret, after that little scale run. Crazy bend right on that 5. And then we're into this. Something like that, right? So the major 3rd again onto the 7. So after the double stops, 6 to 7, and then you're just going to do a whole bunch of those, maybe 10 of those, right? Then you're going to take that major 3rd, bend it up a half step, and then bend it up a full step, or actually a step and a half. Kind of like that, right? And then you're going to drop off to the 5, and then back into another bend on that 7. And then again, ride down to those 5s of the high E and the B. After the bend, drop onto that 8, full step bend, and we're going to hang on this 8 and do a bunch of bends, right? Something like that, right? And then we're going to do another crazy scale run, finishing on the 5, right? Something like that, finishing on the 5 of the D. And we're going to jump way up here to the 20th fret of the B string. Do a whole bunch of bends right there. And then we're going to move it up 2 spots to 22 and do a couple of step and a half bends. Something like that. And then we drop right back into the chorus again. Which you're going to repeat twice at the end of this track. And at the very end, you hang on that C sus down to D, and then you just drop into an 8 power chord. That's the very, very end, right? Coming out of the chorus. And when you go into the C sus, you hang on it for an extra bar, right? D, end of track. And that is how you play that one. So let's take that final solo nice and slow, you know, you're going to have to play with this one and get the timing of all of this, because like I said, it's really difficult to play through this without any kind of backing track, right? So let's have a look at this solo one more time, nice and slow. Pick straight, finish on that 5, crazy bends, double stops, major 3rd, Major third bend, half step, step and a half, 5 back on to 7. Hang on these bends. Crazy scale run. Finish on that 5 of the D, jump up here to the 20th fret. Right, bunch of bends, move it up to 22. Step and a half bends, and then drop back into the chorus. And that is how you play that solo, kind of. and like I said, that's a tough one to nail note for note. It's such a loose solo. Anyway, that is how you play Night Prowler by ACdc, and I think I've got the only tutorial for this one, I hope. And, I hope you enjoyed that and found it helpful. And if you did, please hit that like button right down there somewhere. Maybe drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be very kind. Hope you're well out there, and we will see you next time. Cheers.